All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. We encounter them constantly, but they can be anything from annoying to downright dangerous, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about fungal infections.
Yeah, and I'm talking about athlete's foot and even life-threatening systemic ones.
Exactly. And today, we'll be diving deep into the fascinating world of antifungal drugs to understand how they combat these sometimes tricky pathogens.
And we've got some great material to guide us through this. So we're talking about specific medications, right?
Yes, we are. We'll be focusing primarily on a drug called nystatin.
Okay, nice stat.
But since our source material mentions grisofulvin in the same section,
Right, Greaseafulvin.
we'll touch upon that as well to give a broader perspective on the different strategies these drugs use.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're not aiming for a comprehensive pharmacology lecture here.
Definitely not. The idea is to give you a clear understanding of how these essential medications work without overwhelming you with detail.
Perfect. So let's kick things off with nystatin. What's the deal with nystatin? What does it actually do?
Well, nystatin is primarily used for those surface-level fungal infections.
Surface level. So we're talking about what?
Think things like thrush or vaginal yeast infections and some skin conditions. It's all about location with this one.
Okay, I see. So it's sort of like a frontline defense against those more common fungal issues.
Exactly. And the really fascinating part is how it targets the fungus without harming us.
Oh, that's always the trick, right? Selectivity.
Absolutely. Nystatin belongs to a class of antifungals called polyenes,
Polyenes.
which are known for their ability to bind to sterols.
Sterols, like fats, right?
Precisely, fats in the fungal cell membrane.
Okay, so it's going after the cell membrane. How does that work?
Well, it specifically targets ergosterol,
Ergosterol, okay.
which is like the fungal equivalent of cholesterol in our cells.
So it's exploiting a difference between our cells and the fungal cells.
Exactly. And by binding to ergosterol, nystatin disrupts the integrity of the fungal cell membrane. You can almost think of it like poking holes in a balloon.
I see. So the cell can't function properly anymore.
Essential stuff starts leaking out, and ultimately the fungal cell dies.
Wow, so it's like a targeted sabotage of the fungal cell's defenses?
You could say that, yes.
Now, you mentioned greaseafulvin earlier, and I'm curious, our source material mentions it in the same breath as nystatin, but you said it works differently, right? How so?
Yes, it does. Grisofulvin, while it's discussed near nystatin, it's actually used for a different set of fungal infections.
A different set. Okay, so like what?
More like fungal infections of the skin, hair, and nails.
Hmm.
And the key difference lies in its mechanism of action. Instead of attacking the cell membrane directly, grisofulvin is an oral medication.
Oral, so you take it as a pill.
That's right, and it works from the inside out. What's fascinating is that it interferes with microtubule function within the fungal cells.
Microtubules, what are those?
Microtubules are these tiny structures that are crucial for cell division.
So by messing with the microtubules, greaseafulvin is essentially stopping the fungus from being able to multiply.
Exactly. It's like cutting off the fungal army at the source.
Okay, so while nystatin is a direct attack on existing fungal cells, greaseafulvin is more about preventing the spread.
Right. Preventing those new fungal cells from forming in places like hair and nails, which, as we all know, take a long time to regenerate.
So it's kind of a long game then.
It is, which explains why treatment with grisofulvin can take quite a while. Think about a stubborn nail fungus. It takes months for a new healthy nail to grow out, and grisofulvin needs to be present that whole time to make sure the new growth is fungus-free.
So it's ensuring that as that new nail grows in, it's not getting infected again.
Precisely. So even though both nystatin and grisofulvin are categorized as antifungal drugs, they go about tackling the problem in very different ways.
Yeah, one's a direct attack, the other's a preventative measure. And they each target different types of infections. That's really interesting.
It is. And it highlights the complexity of dealing with fungal infections.
Yeah. It's amazing, though, how these drugs can be so specific, going after these tiny invaders without causing too much trouble for our own bodies.
It really is. And it speaks to the ingenuity of pharmaceutical research.
So to sum it up, folks, you've now got a clearer picture of how drugs like nystatin can disrupt those fungal cell membranes and how greaseafulvin can stop those fungi from growing and multiplying.
Right. But this brings up a really important question for all of us. Fungi are incredibly adaptable. So how do we continue developing effective antifungal treatments that can keep pace with their potential to evolve and resist our current medications?
That's a huge question, and it's definitely something to think about. It's a constant arms race, isn't it?
It is, and the stakes are high. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of antifungal drugs. It's a fascinating area of research with important implications for human health.
And thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.